Forbes India presents Top 30 Talent Leaders of 2023, powered by Indeed.
Hi, my name is Rajeev Menon. I am the Vice President and Global Head of Talent Acquisition at Wipro. I would first like to thank Forbes India and their knowledge partner Indeed for this award. It's indeed an honor to receive such an award. I have about 30 years of experience in HR. I've worked across diverse industries, namely media technology, a few startups, and over the past 20 years, I've been in the ITES space. I've done multiple roles in HR, starting from being part of the talent management team to talent acquisition to workforce management, and then part of these centers of excellence, namely compensation and performance management over the last 30 years. Early in my career, even though I did have a degree in personal management, my first job was in sales and marketing for one of the largest publishing houses in India. And then it did give me a sense of what business is all about. And I think if you really look at it from an HR standpoint, one needs to understand the business to be a good human resources professional, right? And I think, as the saying goes, it is very easy to replicate business models, but what will make a firm or an organization successful is the kind of people that they have. And I truly believed that if we work closely with people, that is going to be the competitive advantage which an organization can have to be successful. And I believed in that, and given my exposure to the industry as such, and especially having worked in frontline, it gave me a nice blend of understanding what the business is and what HR as a function can do to make sure that an organization succeeds. Part of the sales and marketing team. I had the opportunity to do frontline sales. And even as I moved across organizations, I was part of certain initiatives. For example, the launch of an edition in Chennai, the launch of a cargo airline, again, for one of the largest logistics companies in India. So it just gave me a sense of an understanding of how to run a business, right? So from that standpoint, I think my ability to understand business and understand what actually makes a big difference in terms of the kind of talent that we are able to bring into the organization is going to make the big difference as such. So from that standpoint, working with business leaders and then trying to contextualize the whole HR philosophy of an organization, I was able to actually work together on that front. And I've had some very inspiring leaders in my journey thus far. Great leaders whom I've worked with, people who have actually groomed me, have coached me, and I think today I owe my success to each one of them who have been part of the journey thus far. So I think it's an increasingly complex world, right? If you really look at what's happening as the industry is moving from Industry 4.0 to Industry 5.0. And Industry 4.0 was all about automation on a mass scale. But if you look at what's happening as far as Industry 5.0 is concerned, it's all about hyper customization. And I think as a function, we need to see how we are going to customize user experience. And this, I think, is going to be a big challenge given the audience that we are looking at this point in time. When I say audience, I'm talking about the workforce that is going to come in over the next few years. So, how do we create a unique user experience for each one of these individuals? And given that what the workforce is looking at this point in time. So, I think the big challenge would be in terms of how do these organizations actually go on to create that user experience. That's one part of the story. The second is in terms of availability of talent, and we are seeing this across as the industry matures. You realize that technology is playing a very important role. Everything in what we are talking about today is driven by technology, right? Be it AI, ML, whatever that we want to call it. So availability of talent is going to be an issue, and unless and until we groom people we upskill people, I think we will have a challenge. And therefore, as organizations, I think we need to have a unique value proposition which will make it very interesting for people to come and work for us. These are interesting challenges to have. And obviously, there are a whole bunch of new models that are coming in. And I think we should be able to actually meet these challenges, at the same time ensure that we are able to provide meaningful careers to our constituents as such. So technology is definitely at the forefront of whatever that is happening at this point in time. So if you look at the HR function, most of the activities are today automated. And if you look at the talent acquisition space, it's a very interesting space. I mean, I was just reading a report a few years back. It said that most of the startups today are focused in terms of hiring the right kind of talent for an organization. So I think over the last few years, this the space has evolved, and we're seeing a lot of the new platforms and products that are coming in to support talent acquisition team. So if you look at it, right from the time we source a profile, so you have the search and match engines that are in place today. We have automated interview processes, which includes proctoring, right? We do have assessments that can be done online. So pretty much all those activities which were manual in nature in the last few years have got automated. And what it does for teams like us is that we spend valuable time interacting with the candidates, trying to understand what exactly their expectations are rather than look at it from a process standpoint. So it cuts down the cycle time from the time we are looking for profiles till such time we do an interview and make an offer. So in this space, if you look at it, there's a lot of activity and automation, and the new tools have definitely helped increase productivity as well as make sure that we're able to reach out to the right kind of talent. So that's one part. The second part is in terms of how do we onboard people. As I said, user experience is going to be extremely important. And therefore, there are tools in the market which today engages with the candidates, giving them the right kind of information, including the kind of roles that they play in the organization. They're going to play in the organization. What is the culture of the organization? What can they expect when they join an organization? So I think tools like this are definitely helpful in making sure that we do have people who are well versed with the organization even before they join us, right? So it's something like what we call it as the pre-induction model, and I think this is definitely making a big difference as far as the market is concerned. Right. So today we are looking at it things in isolation. We have to see what will work for a customer, what will work for your internal stakeholders, and then come up with a strategy. So therefore, from a leadership standpoint, I think it's extremely important that the person who's actually leading the function understands the business space, understands the customer, is focused on providing that unique customer experience, and therefore the teams that work with them are also in it's operating on similar wavelength as such. So the leadership has to be very decentralized, right? Obviously cannot be having a very centralized kind of a leadership. You need to take people along, and I truly believe in that you carry people along with you, and together you work out what the strategy is. And it has worked for me very well over the last few years, where teams actually come together, decide what is the right thing to do, and what is that we should. So as long as we're very clear about what is expected out of each one of them, and give them the direction and allow them to come up with their plan and strategy, I think it works. So I think it is more about decentralized leadership, as well as how do you lead teams with empathy, right? And that's extremely important today in the current context. So leaders need to be dealing with their reportees, and in a way that we understand what each one of them requires, and how do we ensure that each one of them grows in their role as such. So I would say that these are two important things that which I have used in my career, and which I have seen it work for me. That's a very interesting question. I think I would have been a hockey coach because hockey has been my passion, and I still continue to play hockey. So it still is an option, and hopefully one day probably I will take that up as a full-time job. So my advice to the HR folks who are looking for a career in HR is that one needs to understand business very, very clearly. You need to know, why do you exist? Why does the organization exist? Right? And what is it doing for the customers? You should clearly understand the expectations of the end customer as such. So therefore, unless and until you're clued on in terms of what the business strategy is, and if you want to function in isolation, that's not going to help. So the first thing, my advice, and this is what at least I've had the benefit of in my early career, was doing frontline roles, right? And if there's an opportunity to do frontline roles, you should take that up, because it gives you a clear understanding of what your end customer wants, and therefore you will be able to come up with policies, processes, whatever be that from an HR standpoint, which are relevant for your constituents. I think that is most important thing. The second would be in terms of, you obviously need to be very, very tech savvy, given where we are heading to. So understanding this space is extremely important. And if you're not tech savvy, probably you're not going to be there. And the third would be in terms of your own leadership styles, right? Today, if you look at how the youngsters are looking at us, they also want to be part of the strategy. They want to be part of decision making process. So involve them, groom them, mentor them, so that they can be better leaders over the next few years. So get to learn as much as possible, not just from a business standpoint, but understanding what competition is doing in your space. There are two options to go on to become a hockey coach, right? Or for that matter, I would like to give it a shot on the business side. And I have done this in the past as well in my previous roles, even though I was handling HR. For example, in a company that I was working for, I had the opportunity to lead sales for a brief period in time. So I would definitely would like to do a role on the business side as well. But on the HR side, it's more about leading at a company level, the HR strategy for an organization as such. So there are multiple options, but I'm keeping it open at this point in time.
Forbes India presents Top 30 Talent Leaders of 2023, powered by Indeed.